Say what?
You're good.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It's 1:01, and I'll call the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order on 8/23/23. I'd ask the clerk to notify us of the presence of a quorum, please.
Larry Clarino,
Here.
Jim Ake.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The first item of business, and there are no changes to the agenda, so we'll go through it as it was published. The first agenda item is the meeting minutes and approval thereof. I would entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
I'll second. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none. Larry has a motion, and I second it. All those in favor of approving the minutes as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to action item number 2. It's, and I'm not going to get this pronounced right, but Cherie Mount Krupa LLC and City of Westfield Holiday Inn Express and Suites Road Impact Installment Agreement. Does anybody from the city want to present this?
Yeah, this is Michael Pierce. I'll present this one.
All right, thank you, Michael. Go ahead.
This is just our standard road impact fee installment agreement for the road impact fees that are assessed with the proposed Holiday Inn project. It's located just east of Chad Hiddle Court and just west of US 31. You may recall this as being a former La Quinta site, now proposed as a Holiday Inn Express. So this is just our standard installment agreement to spread their road impact fees out over 5 years. So same terms and conditions as our standard agreement for that.
All right, thank you. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the agreement with Holiday Inn Express.
Thank you. I will second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Larry Clarino, a second by Jim Egg. All those in favor of the motion presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And then we move on to resolution, action item number 3, City of Westfield and Lantern Commons Master Development Agreement. We've seen the documents here, and I guess we have Eric Douthit representing. Do you wish to present this at this time?
Eric Douthit, Church Hiddle Antrim, 116th North Union here in Westfield. I'm the attorney for Front Street, who is the developer for Lantern Commons. Lantern Commons is a 57-acre development located just north of 161st Street between what is now Union and US 31. Over the past, we have entered into a proposed agreement with the city with regards to a development agreement that would include TIF, tax increment financing, developer-backed bond, as well as road impact fees and park impact fees being pledged for the purposes of installing what will be the Westfield Boulevard extension from the roundabout at 161st and Union up to the north, as well as the development of a pocket park right there that it was recently dedicated as Joe Edwards Park. The total budget for the bond is $9.9 million. We've gone over this with the city, and that's what you have in front of you today is that resolution. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have about the proposal.
All right, thank you. I think the developer agreement is detailed in some respects. Some questions I think we have for you as a Board of Public Works. So at this time, and I understand we have bond counsel online, Jim Crawford or John?
Chris, were you able to get Jim on?
He's on.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, very Excuse me?
Direct your questions to Jim Crawford.
Okay, all right. So at this time, since it is a extensive agreement, go ahead, Larry. I know
Yeah.
you have some things
A
on
few
your
things.
list.
Number one, you've got my name misspelled on the document. Whoever did that. Number two, and I'm going to ask our police department and fire department to comment on this. From looking at the plans, the Westfield Boulevard extension ends at the property line on the north side. Is that correct? Okay. And Union Street will tie into that. Okay. Why isn't there a roundabout at Union Street? I'm assuming that's going to be a stop sign. When over the next, it's probably going to be at least 2 to 3 years before Westfield Boulevard connects. Number one, that means only one access to the development. It's got to concern our fire department because we're talking about senior citizens, and several hundred apartments, correct? Okay, so you're going to have one access to this property. The other access off Union Street is going to have a stop sign. When the developments to the east of Union Street, more high density, there's going to be a whole lot of traffic on Union Street, way more than we have now. Why isn't there a roundabout going in there? And by the way, the police and fire, please comment on how do you guys feel about a single access into this development?
Larry, this is John Nail. I'll take a stab at the first question. So from my recollection, there's an additional access point right in, right out off of 161st Street from the south side of the property. And we are actively, as a public works department, looking to accelerate that final connection between 169th and the termination point of Westfield Boulevard. We recognize that it's critical that we get that segment of road built to have a complete frontage road from 161st Street up to 32 along the east side of US 31. We are engaging consultant on a contract and to accelerate design on that road project. As far as why there's no roundabout, as you're aware, we have the 2-lane roundabout at 161 and Union. Long term, our plan has always been to try and de-emphasize Union Street as a traffic corridor, make it more pedestrian friendly. And so we feel that a stop sign and a T intersection for Union will help in the future. And we're talking you're correct that it's probably 2 to 3 years out on the final completion of the roadway. But long term, looking 5 to 10 years out, we feel like that's really going to emphasize Westfield Boulevard as the arterial as our thoroughfare plan contemplates, and will help to de-emphasize Union Street as a traffic corridor. I'll pause there and let fire comment on police and fire make any comments they want to.
By the way, could you point out where this other access is on your Exhibit B, please? Because I don't see it here. But the map that we have isn't very good.
I don't have control of the
Yeah,
screen,
they're
but
working on it.
I can tell you that about halfway. Okay, I can tell you about halfway between the 161 Union roundabout and the east roundabout at 31 and 161. There's a right in, right out connection with this development.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it's not shown on there because it's not a public roadway. It's a private drive, but it does have an access easement that shows where the approximate location would be.
On the fire department side, I haven't had an opportunity to review this. That's through the fire marshal, and I haven't heard anything negative from him about this project. I know he's working on a number of projects, but based on what's being said now and with the acceleration of that drive, and the right in, right out or whatever. I think we'll be, looking forward, there's a number of places where we've got some shortcomings as far as abilities to get in that, looking in the future, trying to realize that that's coming in the very near future. So we realize with growth, there's change and need or whatever. Where it's at the top, the dead end up there, the fire marshal reviewed that with him. We'd obviously want a turnaround back in there. In the meantime, make sure we have access to get back there and turn around. But it's access-wise, we realize we'd have to, in the short term, we've got different ways we'll need to get back in there. But if the anticipation is to extend that road in the relatively near future, I think we can work with it.
Eric, do you want to comment?
I do. I've got our slides that we had from Monday night aren't available, but I do have a picture that we're going to add in that shows that right in, right out. So if it's okay if I approach.
Yes, please.
Right here is the right in, right out.
But that's not a public road, correct?
Well, it's going to be built to public standards.
But the public won't be able.
It's private, but it'll be built to fire's access standards and our construction standards.
It will be full public access.
The thing that concerns me, guys, is not putting a roundabout in at this point is gonna cost, what? Maybe 100 grand, maybe, where 3, 4, 5 years down the road, when all these roads are turned over to the city, and the city decides, oh, we should have put a roundabout there, now we get to spend $1.5 million or $2 million or $3 million to put a roundabout in. Man, this sure sounds like another tunnel, 161st Street tunnel to me. I am, Union Street, you might as well close it to turn it off as a secondary street. We're going to have a lot of traffic when that high-density housing gets built. It's under construction right now, and I think it's the Beauchamp property. Are you really, really comfortable with this, John Nail?
I am, yeah. I would say that putting a roundabout in at this point is going to be substantially more than $100,000.
But there's no
yeah,
road there. I mean, we're talking about widening the road. There's nothing there right now.
Can I
Right,
interject?
but
Go ahead, John.
curb, asphalt for a roundabout, I mean, it's gonna probably add $1 million to this infrastructure package, I would say. Additionally, you'd have 2 roundabouts really close together if we put a roundabout there at the Union Street tie-in. We see you see examples there in Carmel at US 31, 136th Street. How difficult when you get a lot of roundabouts pushed closely together, how difficult it is to navigate it. I think my bigger concern there would be proximity to 161st and Union. And again, we really, thinking long-term, we really want to emphasize Westfield Boulevard as an arterial, de-emphasize Union Street. To your point, closing off Union Street completely, I think that would be a concern from the fire department. They definitely want to have access still. We just want to do everything we can to emphasize Westfield Boulevard as a primary arterial for our residents.
Go ahead.
No, I would add, Larry, to this, that Union Street to the north is primary residential, and with the Union Flats and other things up there and across from the new developments with Old Town and some of that, and the Bible school there, the college, and maybe expanding somewhat. I think that to de-emphasize, that's a pretty boulevard coming down there, and it's not meant to carry a lot of traffic in the first place with the coming out. And so I think relying on the engineering report or Jonathan Nail's comments that boulevard will carry the majority of traffic, and this isn't all going to develop overnight. So I think the solution is adequate. I think fire's weighed in, and I really don't see, I think that they can handle the projections of traffic coming down there and the flow. And by de-emphasizing Union, I think that preserves that corridor a little bit and makes our downtown more attractive.
But we are building several hundred apartment buildings right now on the east side of Union, directly across, right over here. Right in this area, we're building several hundred high-density houses, which are gonna be using Union Street.
That's right, but they can, Jonathan, what's your opinion on the traffic counts coming out of there? And to Larry's point about the additional apartments in Union Street's capacity?
I mean, I think there will be maybe some short-term challenges before we complete that roadway up to 169th Street, but I feel very good about it long-term. I think that, I mean, respectfully, we look at new houses and the traffic generation. It's not nearly as much as people think on the residential side as compared to some of the commercial developments that really drive a lot of the traffic volume. So, look, we're constantly monitoring this, and Larry, I think your concerns are valid. I certainly am glad you're voicing them, but we've looked at this really closely. I think, like I said, I feel good about the design of the roadway. I feel good about how we're connecting it in. There may be some short-term challenges with that connection until we complete the roadway, but we've got a good plan in place to get that completed.
And short-term is defined by 3 to 5 years. Okay. Quite honestly, this doesn't
We do have
make a
to
lot of
plan
sense
on a
to
20
me.
to 30 year time scale. So yeah, I mean, 3 to 5 years is short term in the way we plan roadway infrastructure.
I wish there were a way you could guarantee that, well, all right.
Okay. Jim Crawford, I have a question, or either Eric, but the agreement has up to 25 years. And I'm wondering if there's any consideration for repayment in a quicker period. I don't know the term of this because it's just left open-ended. Would anybody care to comment on that and the cash flow from the project?
I'll just touch that base on that briefly, and Jim Treat and Jim, are you there? I can follow up on it.
Yeah, I am here. Go ahead, Jim.
You're allowed under the statute. The projections with this being built out over about a 5-year period, properties will come online, and the AV will come online staggered. And Jim Treat has run numbers based on what the anticipated uses of the real estate will be, and using comparables within the jurisdiction to come up with projected best valuations, and then from that you get the tip off of that. And I believe that right now, without taking into account the TIF and the TIF and the RIF, and using the full 9.9 million, that it would be repaid in about 17 years. The person in the wheel or
What was that last comment, please? Did we lose you, Jim?
No, I was going to say was that in this.
You're breaking up here, I'm sorry. Eric, the value of the project is pegged at $76 million or thereabouts, give or take. Is that realistic?
Yes, that is a realistic value based on the comps that we have run and based on the proposed uses. I'd also add a couple of additional pieces that I think Jim Crawford was probably to get to. This is an 80-20 bond, meaning that 80% of the pledge of the generated tax increment is pledged to this project. The RDC has available to it the other 20% to do as it sees fit, anything that's legal, which could include another project in this area, another project that is eligible for TIF financing, or pay off this bond early if the RDC so elected. Given the way this is financed as well, both park impact fees and road impact fees are available. That is not figured into that 17-year time frame. That'll actually bring that 17-year time frame and shorten it based on how those will be applied, which is essentially when the road impact fees or the park impact fees are paid, they'll be immediately used to reduce the principal and therefore reduce what the overall amortization of the project will be. Jim Treat and our on behalf of the city, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, we've gone over this for a very long time, run a number of different comps, and this is really the most conservative, both, I think, valuation based on proposed uses, as well as the most conservative cash flow based on where we've been. So we feel, as a developer, who, by the way, is on the hook, it's a developer-backed bond, it's not backed by the city at all, we feel very comfortable, my clients feel very comfortable with the proposed cash flow. And not to speak for Jim, but I believe he's comfortable as well. So I'll let Jim Treat supplement anything I've said incorrectly.
Thanks, Eric. So just one clarification on the impact fees. We do use impact fees during the construction period of the infrastructure projects, mainly Westfield Boulevard, to pay down bonds. So I have counted about $1 million during that time frame that the folks at Front Street have estimated we'd be able to collect in impact fees. So, but I will echo what Crawford said and Eric Douthwaite, that we have shown this in about I think it's 16. Let me make sure I've got the right schedule. Yeah, that at 16 years is when the pledged increment, that's the 20%, should be able to take this bond down. And so that does not include impact fees that are collected after the road's completed, which there will be some that come in as the rest of the projects on the site are completed. So those will pay it down quicker. But so that should be the longest term. And in addition, there is a variable rate on this. Interest rate is variable, but it matches the developer's financing, which is also on that basis. It goes with the SoFi index. And the numbers I have run are based upon the maximum interest rate. So if interest rates fall during the term, that will enable us to repay this bond quicker as well. So just to clarify those, and then to echo what Eric said, yes, this is developer backed. You pledge the 80% and the impact fees that relate to this project. Other than that, if it's not sufficient in the overall 25-year term to pay off these bonds, the city's obligation ends. And it's the same structure as what we currently have for Wheeler Landing infrastructure, with the exception of Wheeler Landing, 100% of the TIF is pledged toward repayment of the Wheeler Landing A and B bonds. And we were able to do this one with only pledging 80% and having the remaining 20% available for other important projects, infrastructure and economic development projects around this area. Any other questions, Jim, that I can zero in on more specifically? There's a lot of information here, so
Well, I understand. I would, so the infrastructure improvements, just for the record, that's what the 9.9 million is based on?
yes, about 7 million are the construction costs. Then there's soft costs. There's capitalized interest for 2 years, and then the issuance cost. So that gets you up to in that somewhere between 9.5 and 9.9. So we set the max at 9.9, but we don't expect to get to that point because we will have some impact fees that'll come off, Jim. But we can't count on those since we don't know. It's an unusual situation in that, you know, when we can schedule principal pay downs when it's based on a stream of revenue, but when you have impact fees and you can't schedule when exactly those are going to come in, we have to set the bond amount excluding all those numbers. So I don't think we'll ever get to 9.9, but for legal purposes, we have to authorize the gross amount of the bond, not the net. Does that make sense? But
Ye-
yeah, it's the hard costs of that road, the plaza, the landscaping along there, and then the other big pieces would be the issuance costs and the CAP-I, the interest during construction.
Okay. And the early development would cover, they'd be able, there's no problem with them meeting their first couple of years of payments,
No,
in your
no,
opinion?
we've set it up that, no, in my opinion, that, yes, that's correct. So what we've done is, um, we have capitalized interest payments through, um, the middle of 2026. Then in 27, we have we have some principal, but it's pretty small, Jim. So we keep the annual debt service in those first couple of years after CAP-I of, well, like maybe $600,000 to $700,000, which matches up with the first couple of projects that would be coming in and be assessed and creating increment. And then once the most of the additional projects completed, then we take it up to about 1.1 million for the remainder of the 16 years that I mentioned before. So that's how it's scheduled right now. And that all the work that we've done with Front Street and the city in the last couple of years off and on has been trying to resize this as tight as possible so that Front Street's got assurance that this will work for them financially, but we've got assurances that the city will be able to get this off his books as quickly as possible. I mean, get this off the RDC's books. So yes, I think that it takes into consideration the fact that these there's 5 different projects planned, and they'll be completed between 20 the construction periods are, let me see what got them all written down right here, between 25 and 28. So, and then it's another 2 years before they're assessed and you start getting the increment. So there'll be some partial completions there, but those timing matters are all taken into consideration in the how we set up the amortization.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Eric, so once this project will start with apartments, is that correct?
Correct.
Or-
Correct. The apartments will close shortly after the bond closing, with a projected end of construction date of 2025. So that'd be assessed 26 and pay in 27.
Okay,
Right.
and these are 250 units,
That sounds.
approximately,
Approximately, yes.
okay, and will they be market rate?
They will be.
All right. Larry, you have any further questions?
I've got a lot of questions, but we're not going to get answers, that's for sure. Why were the trees cut down 18 months before you guys started work?
In the state of Indiana, because of the bats, you have to cut them down at a specific time of year so as not to disturb the bat habitat.
Anything further?
Joel, are you comfortable with this road layout?
To be honest with you, this is the first time I've actually put my eyes on it, so I'm still processing it, and I do have questions. I'm
'Cause
not really,
right now, I'm leaning towards voting no or tabling this because there is a lot, I have questions, so go ahead.
it's the first time I've seen, I'm really trying to understand the whole southeast T. And then I'm not sure what's going on to the north because I'm just seeing a small piece of the project. I trust Jonathan. All the other projects that they've done, he's done a great job. So I have no reason to doubt what he's saying. I just haven't had time to digest it. Is this what they're talking about, right in, right out, or is that a different location?
where the arrow is the right in, right out, but it'll be a road, from what I understand, built to public specs but private use. The public isn't going to be able to use that. How are you going to stop the public from coming in there?
The public absolutely will use it. It's just not a public right-of-way street, which means we're not on the hook for maintaining that connection piece in perpetuity, but it's still constructed to our construction standards and to the requirements of fire code as well.
And that joins the boulevard? Oh, I see, okay,
It does.
as a T.
So the boulevard goes into 161, it flows into the roundabout, correct?
That's correct, Chief Rush.
Okay.
Joel, this
I think,
is.
I think,
this
I think it's
explains it.
it's a small piece of what we're gonna see, you know, this area come to. I feel that the future will slow these, when we talk about Union Street and some of these other smaller roads, I think the vision probably would be that we slow those speeds down also. Make those a little more conducive for maybe even golf carts or something eventually, to where the speeds even go down to maybe 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, something like that. Is that correct, John?
That's correct.
So I think I see what the vision is. I just haven't seen the big picture yet, but like I said, if Jonathan feels that it's adequate, then I'd have to go with what he's saying.
I do agree with that. Jonathan has a terrific track record in this stuff. As a citizen, I'm frankly concerned that we could be looking at another 161st Street tunnel issue where, you know, we're taking a short view now, and 3, 5, 8 years down the road, you know, we smack ourselves in the head and say, oh, we shoulda, and now it's gonna cost us a whole lot more money. I am really concerned with that, but I do have to, Jonathan, you know, you and your department has done a wonderful job, and I have to believe that. I wish there were more information here, because quite honestly, the fire department and the police department both have just seen this for the first time, and frankly, that's unexcusable. It really is, guys.
Well, is that correct?
In our review process, Larry, the fire marshal's involved in the review process. I'm not going to speak on this particular development, but you know, he certainly has looked at the multifamily piece in the review process. He's part of our TAC meetings as well. So I kind of reject the premise that the fire department hasn't seen this. I know Chief Roberts maybe hasn't directly seen it, but you know,
And that's what I was alluding to, that I had.
Okay, all right,
He's certainly seen these plans.
let me change
You know,
that.
part of our review process.
That hasn't gotten down to our level. So, okay, all right.
And Larry, and if you want, I mean, the police department historically doesn't look or is not involved in TAC all that often. Occasionally, we'll collaborate if we see something. But if that's a process you want us to take a look at, certainly Chief Rush and I can talk about it. I know they've got other things they're worried about, but you know, we can certainly discuss that if those are concerns you have.
Jonathan, again, like I said, if you are comfortable with this, you know, I am, so, all right.
Okay, good. I would just, as to close out this discussion, maybe, I don't know, but that's a valuable piece of property. It's undeveloped. The trees are gone. They have a good plan here. It brings just a lot of AV to the table here over time, and it's along a very valuable corridor, that being US 31. And they've done a lot as far as the clear cut of the trees. They've added sufficient landscaping and parkland and water features. And I think it's going to be a great project for us, and it solves the traffic problem from 169th Street down, and I think it does eliminate traffic on some of our other roads. So I would, Eric, if you care to dovetail on that. I also think it'll support, or it'll further development to the north of 190, or 169th Street. So there's additional development that'll occur with this, and that's our economic drivers, US 31.
Jim, let me, okay, this is Jim Treat. I'd like to add one more comment on this, is that this 20% share that this project alone is going to generate of additional RDC funds, when everything's built out, it's roughly about $300,000 a year. And one of the reasons we like this share process on this is because there are potentially other infrastructure needs in this area. We talked about some pedestrian bridges and things like that we want to see how this develops out first. But that's one of the main reasons why we have this 20% share. And we could leverage quite a bit, even if we had to bond it or just cash pay it with this kind of a cash flow. It's not millions of dollars, but it's a pretty healthy new cash flow that should be devoted to the kind of issues that you guys are bringing up right now, should those become, more urgent or just more obvious as this area specifically develops out. So I just thought I'd point that out, might make people feel a little bit better about the long-term plan here. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm good.
Okay. All right. I think since there's no more discussion, I would make a motion to approve this action item for City of Westfield and Lantern Commons Master Development Agreement. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jim Ake, a second by Larry Clarino. All those in favor of moving this forward and approving the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Thank you very much. That concludes the normal business of action items, and we get into the consent agenda, which deals with WPD vehicle disposals, Westfield Police Department vehicle disposals, and the August bond information. Do you have any questions about the consent agenda? I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Jim Ake, a second by Larry Clarino. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Then we go into department reports. And we have fire.
Good morning. I know Chief Gaylor was not able to be here. He's helping with the recovery rescue efforts in Hawaii. So wishing him well and safe returns. Hopefully that's sometime.
We do too. We do too.
They're doing well down there. Good spirits. Just talked to him yesterday evening, been texting with him today. So, and it's early morning there. So they're just getting their day started. Besides the report, I had a couple other items, but the report just basically standard kind of even keel with on the annual track where we're at compared to last year. Down just a little bit for this last month, and the report for July runs down just a little bit, which is a good thing, but no rhyme or reason for it. But if you didn't have any questions on that, I'll hit on a couple other things.
I don't have any further questions. You guys do a good job of reporting, and I appreciate those updates.
You're welcome.
The new station coming along all right?
Yeah, it's coming along, and it's getting closer. We're still generator was supposed to have been delivered this past Monday. It's pushed off till this next Monday, and likely get pushed off again. So that's one issue. They're finally got the sanitary sewer installed. They're installing a water line now. So once that gets installed, they'll finish up the concrete work around the south side of the building. Still waiting on the vendor that puts in the radio system, our alerting system for the department to get installed. So we're on a holding pattern for that. Sometime in the relative near future, that'll be installed. Number of small things to do, but we're hoping to possibly within the next 3 or 4 weeks, at least move the admin office into the admin offices. Without a generator or alerting system for emergency incidents, kind of hard to move the operations side out to that. But
The switch panel is all in though for the
yes,
generator now,
yes,
right?
the
Yeah.
ATA's, it's definitely in there. They've got that all installed, wired in. It's just,
Good.
so that was one of the things they figured they'd be waiting on longer than the others, so. So fortunately that's in, but moving along, landscaping should be coming in as soon as they get the water line put in. They should start doing the groundwork and making it look a lot nicer than just bare dirt around the building. So it's gonna come along as far as appearance wise and having that finished look on the outside relatively soon. So definitely in a reasonable amount of time to get that done before winter hits. So it's come along pretty well. The recruit class we just had, we've finished up. I know Chief talked to you about 15 of our people, or 15 new people we have that went through recruit class. They finished, all of them finished very, very well in the whole class, doing very well. They're on shift. Actually started, the first crew came to shift last Friday and fitting in very well. The recruit class obviously did a very good job because they're coming in, as far as coming into recruit class green, they're coming out and showing that recruit class did a very great job of training them and readying them for the streets. So I know one of the things we talked about in the past is getting Medic 83 in service out of Station 3. We did receive the ambulance back that was wrecked a year and a half ago. We finally just received that within the last week. So it's sitting in the firehouse getting finished up, stocked or whatever. So that'll become the new Medic 83. And once we get the new people going through their field training as far as doing things on the street and getting acclimated to that. So within the next month, maybe 5 weeks, we should start releasing them to staffing. At that point, we anticipate putting Medic 83 in service. So I would say October, first part of October, we'll have 3 ambulances in service every day for our community.
How is that mental health program that we approved a few months ago, is that showing any, I assume that's in the works now and being used?
Yep, they're using it through our social worker, the EMS division is using that. It's working very, very well. When we hired a social worker, not quite almost a year ago, we didn't know what we didn't know at that point in time, how busy that position would actually be. And Jamie, the social worker's working that position, is extremely busy every day. So we didn't realize what we needed, I guess, at that point in time. Works with us and the police department. We work together very, very well as far as taking better care of our citizens, mental health, the needs there. She does a very good job at communicating with them and reaching out after our incidents or anytime there's a need. Also working well with our employees. So doing a very, very good job.
And the mental health program for our firemen,
Yes,
you know,
the SHIELD program and the
is
Pro
that work-
team.
And
Yes.
that's up and running now, right?
Yes, yes, and we've had, they've come and met with us. We've sent some of our firefighters down there just to go in, kind of an orientation kind of thing on to navigate their program, to meet with just a one-on-one with the clinician down there to acclimate to what they're going to do for us, which is gives a better feeling for our personnel. Sometimes, you know, in our profession, you want to hold it all in, but if you get to know the person you're talking to that and what they're actually looking for, that opens that up very, very well, and that's going to be utilized.
And you're getting good support from the guys.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Outstanding,
Absolutely.
excellent.
Hopefully you never need it, but we know we will, so.
Yep,
Well, that's a good report. We thank you for that.
thank you.
You're welcome.
You're doing a great job, so please convey that to all of the members of your organization
Will do.
and the
Thank
other
you.
chiefs.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, we have police. Joel,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Yeah, we have a lot going on.
Well, how'd Jake Laird Day go?
It went really, really well. I recognize some folks from this room that were there. Appreciate that.
Well, I was excited to be there. You
Um,
drew a good crowd.
You know, that's one of our bigger outreach programs that we have, but I've got two to announce today that we're going to be doing in the next couple weeks. Some of this I went over today in the all-employee meeting, but I'm going to say it again because we want people to attend these. The first one is called Spirit Day at Handles.
I saw that.
Have you seen that already?
Yeah, it was out on, it came in my inbox.
Good. Hopefully other people get it too. It's on August 28th from 3 to 10, and we've partnered with Handles to support our Westfield Youth Assistance Program. 20% of all proceeds will go to youth assistance. This was spearheaded by a couple of our officers from Knights B, Ingrid Ortega and Lindsay Tren. So that's the first of two. The second one is we're bringing back Tip-a-Cop. Which is a lot of fun. Texas Roadhouse helps us out with that. Jeremy Thomas, also on that shift, is spearheading that event. It's set for September 5th from 4 to 9. And that's basically the officers take the day, I mean, they're off that day, but they all come in uniform and they actually help the wait staff at the restaurant serve tables, and any of the tips that they get, along with 10% of the proceeds, go to the Special Olympics in Indiana. So it's a good cause. It's a lot of fun. My wife and I will be there eating that night, so looking forward to having the officers service.
Don't forget to tip your server.
That's right.
Right.
You might really want to do it that night.
Do you think you'll need a taste tester for your food?
Well, you can have your own. So. A couple of other things we have going on. Unfortunately, we're going to lose Brett Bays this month. Brett, after 18 years, is hanging it up. Brett's been a crucial part of our detective division for many years now, and in my own opinion, he has helped put us in a really good spot in detectives and marketed our department very, very well. Brett is, I say this not lightly, he's not replaceable. You know, a lot of times we say whether or not, well, yeah, someone leaves, but they can be replaced. Brett, he cannot be. He is an awesome guy, unique, and has spearheaded a lot of major cases and put us pretty much on the mark. So I'm going to be sad to see him go. He's just off to do other things. He's a brilliant guy, and we wish him well. He's served us well. We also celebrate some other milestones that I think that this is as good a platform as any to recognize some of these officers. We have some service awards at the end of the year, but I think you can never celebrate these too much. But we have some pretty significant milestones of service. Bobby Gurrell hit 35 years this year. Brody Houston hit 30 years. Tony Howard, Angie Martin, and Rory Gentry all hit 25 years this year. And then Charles Hollowell's at his 20-year mark. So,
By the way, tell Tony that those of us that live along Oak Street, we still miss his car parked over on the side with the radar on. So.
Well, maybe if he's bored sometime, he can just park his car there. I don't know.
Make sure it's a marked car, though.
For old time's sake. Bringing up to speed a little bit on our current process of hiring, we're now in background phase out of this current process. So hopefully we'll have some names for you within the next month or so. We still need at least 3 more officers. Obviously, we're replacing Brett, and another officer is left. Unfortunately, Merrick Hollinger, the one you approved from last meeting, has accepted a job with Carmel. So we've lost him, unfortunately. The other candidates that we've hired recently are all still in FTO. Sergeant Olowinski is our probably looking to be done in solo car already within the next few weeks. So it's about an 8-week process for them. They're in and out. They're both very, very good. And Alvarez is right behind him. He had a little less time on the street, so it might take him a few more weeks than them. So we're looking forward to getting them all out and getting them in a car by themselves and helping us out on the street. Other than that, unless you have any other questions for me, that's about all I got.
No, I think you can send, Brett has probably earned a retirement there. We'll miss him as a group, and we wish him well. So if you can express that to him, that would be great. And we look forward to seeing the new officers on the street, and hopefully you'll have some good hires in the future.
Awesome. Thank you both.
We progressing on the new station, the new headquarters?
Yeah, talk about an exciting time. So we put out the RFP last month. We had like 8 entries or submissions. We reviewed those last week. We came up with 5 that are going on to interviews next week. So, and then paralleling that is the design team, the architects Dewberry and Kripe have put together our first schematic drawings or renditions of the building, which are going to be viewed by our small team next week, and then hopefully they'll make some final cuts and drafts, and hopefully be able to start showing some, the schematic design to not only our officers but some of these groups that we need to share it with. So very exciting time. Looking forward to seeing it, and looking forward really to sharing it. So
We'll look forward to seeing that too.
very good.
You don't lack for things to do,
No,
so we appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank
both.
you, Joel.
Thank you, Joe.
Next, we have Public Works.
Yeah, so probably the most important update is on State Road 32 over Cool Creek. I did get an updated schedule from INDOT's contractor on that project. They've had some surprise utility conflicts that they've done a good job working through, but that has delayed the overall project.
I can't imagine that, Jonathan.
I know. But to their credit, they've done a really good job problem solving, coordinating with the utilities. And their updated schedule has State Road 32 opening on September 8th. There's some chatter. INDOT has done a really good job working with the contractor to find ways to try and accelerate it. There's some chatter that they might be able to beat that, but I'm going to say September 8th based on the current schedule. As you're aware, that's holding up our 161 and Oak project a bit. We're not going to close 161st Street until 32 is open for some obvious traffic flow reasons. We are going to work with our contractor to try and do some work offline of 161st Street so that they can still stay productive on that project. So we are actively communicating with several parties because those 2 projects are somewhat interconnected because of their relationship to east-west travel through Westfield. So working through it. Current schedule, September 8th. I will update you all if anything changes on that front. Additionally, 32 downtown, demolition has gone pretty well with that contractor on that project. We're continuing to move forward and coordinating with utilities. I've kind of half joked that project is a utility relocation project with a side of road construction because of the amount of utilities in our downtown area. So working through that, progressing well. Resurfacing's wrapping up. We've been really happy with our contractor on the resurface work this year. And then lastly, with the heat advisories we're experiencing this week, our street department's been pretty innovative in shifting some shifts earlier into the morning to try and beat the heat on some of their tasks that are more labor intensive. Doing quite a bit of tree trimming as well this week, as that's something that kind of inherently is in the shade. So we're working on some tree trimming to try and keep the guys cool. And of course, we're keeping an eye out for heat-related illness with the heat. So just really appreciate everyone's efforts on that. Just trying to keep everybody safe out there because it is it's hot, no doubt about it. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
No, I appreciate the resurfacing done at 161st and Spring Mill and down through there to 156. They did a really good job of doing it in a timely manner. There were a little bit of traffic backups while it was in process, but overall, they were very neat and very professional in what they did, and I'm just pleased with the results to date. So thank you guys and the company that did that for us.
Absolutely, we'll do.
Anything else for the good of the order?
I'm good.
This time I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.